So the first thing that you need to know about Afghanistan is its geography. You can't really understand the country without understanding the landscape. So for this exhibit, I chose to do very large landscapes to give you the feeling of this size and ruggedness of the country. Geography is destiny. Afghanistan is wedged between different powers and in a country that is filled with mountains. 2/3 of the landscape is mountains. So what happens when you have that is you have villages which are tucked into these mountains, and the cultures and the people grow up somewhat in isolation from each other. So what I'm trying to do is to bring you into those villages. In Afghanistan, it's not that difficult to get men to allow themselves to be photographed. They often will puff themselves up and present a nice smile for a portrait. If you spend a little more time and you can get people to relax into a more natural expression, then you can get the more subtle looks. What I love about this portrait is this man's suffering, which is etched all over his face. And yet there's still a softness, a gentleness that shows that he still has something that he's hoping for. There's still something in the future. I think that he hopes that, at any rate. And it's a much more truthful look, I think, than many of the portraits that will be the first instinct for people when you photograph them. At the age of about 9, girls tend to start covering their hair and being more modest, and they don't want their pictures taken, consequently. And of course, when they're married, they really don't want their photographs taken because being able to see their face is a privilege that belongs to their husband, some of them feel. The older women sometimes will allow themselves to be full-on photographed. And this woman lived in the village of Chinar, which is where the mountain landscape is also from. I was traveling with the female member of parliament that represented this village, and she was meeting with village elders, with residents of the village, to talk to them about parliament and about the way that the government could help them and what they could do to work with the government. Some of the women in the room at first, of course, didn't want to be photographed. So I took pictures of this woman's hands and I showed it to her on the back of the camera on the monitor, and she liked it. So then she thought, well, okay, I guess I'll allow you to photograph me. So I placed her near the window, of course, so that she could get that lovely window light. The thing about her face that is so striking to me, it might not seem very expressive at first, but to me it is a very classic look that I would see in Afghanistan. It is somewhat impenetrable, like the mountains, but it isn't hostility. It's important to understand that. What it really is a kind of way of preserving identity and a solidity within oneself. Afghans have a very strong sense of what it means to be Afghan and of their personal identity, and they carry that with them, and it shows on their face. And that's one of the things that I liked about this portrait. This photograph was also in the village of Chinar when the parliamentarian was visiting. These are 2 of the village elders, and they were listening as part of this dialogue with Shinkai, the female member of parliament. To be in a room like that where male village elders were listening to a female elected representative who was clearly in the seat of honor, even though she's from that village and she's younger than they are, and to watch how they paid attention to her and how they listened to her was a revolutionary moment. To see that that could happen in this village was remarkable to me. And you can see their expressions, that they were really listening, and it was part of a real conversation about government and people and how they connect. I love being able to print on fabric. It's It's one of the fantastic things that we're able to do. And this is on satin, which is coated so that it can be printed on. And what I love about it for portraits is that the skin tones just light up. The luminosity that is human skin, that comes from our soul shining through our skin and our eyes. Satin captures a little bit of that quality. We can suspend it, it can move just as humans move, and the light coming behind it illuminates it in a way that the skin tones actually change as the photograph moves. And so they seem to me to come to life, which is the effect that I really wanted. I wanted to give viewers some small feeling of what it's like to be among Afghans.